Hello, hello. Welcome this morning where we are talking about the Code of Principles for Sacred Healing. Our first principle we talked about last week, and this week we'll talk about the second one. We're making these short and sweet, if you will. Um, and we're in the season of fall. So fall started last week. And the interesting thing about that in Chinese medicine, each season has organs that they're most affiliated with. And the season of fall is about the lungs and the large intestines. So we know about the large intestines being about letting go of what we no longer need in our system. That's something to take note of. You can do that in fall if you will. And then also our lungs are about respiration. It's about our exchange with the external world. It's about breath. And I beat the drum so hard of how important it is to take a deep breaths all day long. It's also important because the leaves change in fall, right? We don't have as much leaf oxygen exchange. So our attention to breathing deeper becomes even more important in the seasons of fall and winter. So, and why is it important also to have a deep breath? Okay, of course, it's obvious is oxygen, right? We need that to live. Um, but also, it's because there are cosmic substances, if you will, that sustain a human body that we take in when we take a breath, if we're aware of it, if we have a focus or an intention or a conscious awareness and that we're present when we're taking these breaths in, right? So it's really important to um, train yourself. Really, this is a training, it's a building of a muscle to be aware with your every breath and present that you're bringing in cosmic forces. And one such cosmic force is something called the comprehensive light of divine love, which we welcome through the top of our head. So we'll talk in just a moment about the codes of principles here, and I'll pick up with that. With that, I just want to introduce myself. If we don't know each other yet, I welcome you to this short little code of principles for sacred healing time together. This is our second code. My name is Laurie Morse. I'm a 30-year practitioner of Chinese medicine and the founder and director of the Sacred Health Academy, where we guide and walk with women, generally in the second half of her life, doesn't always have to be, into the arms of her sacred health, right? So this is an awakening and an activation of what lives often latent in most of us, in every single one of our cells, and we activate that that energetic template, if you will. It's a blueprint. It's a divine design, whichever way you want to call it, and this starts changing her at the level of her mind, her body, and her spirit. And this is vitally important for us to be healthy and whole. Without it, we can only get so far, right? So we're talking about in this fall season the 12 principles of sacred healing, and that'll cover the season of fall. And you don't want to miss out on these, right? Like if there's anything that's real about fear of missing out, FOMO, these would be them. You don't want to miss these principles. So maybe go back to the last one if you missed it, and it'll be on this page or whatever page you're watching this from. So let's dive in. So last week we talked about the number one principle is the prime directive that the prime directive of the universe is a return to love. We are extensions of the universe. So our prime directive as human beings is returning the energy that is not aligned with love to love, right? And the second principle, the second code of principles is that you are not separate from divine love. In fact, you are an extension of divine love. So divine love, in her infinite choice, right, says, I want to experience myself in a physical form, in physical reality, right? So we have this planet that we live on that's beautiful, and it's all about opposites. This is where yin yang comes in. It's a balance of opposites between light and dark, and night and day, and up and down, and masculine and feminine, and light and love and yin and yang, right? And we're balancing this. And perfect health, by the way, is a constant dance of balance between those two things. Now, not all of us have that. This is our high bar goal, if you will. So we look to find, and this is what evolves our soul, by the way. This is what expands love in not only us, but in the universe. And that's the whole point, is an expansion of love. So seeking this balance between masculine and feminine, light and love, yin and yang, is what allows us to evolve into more of who we really are at the level of our mind, our heart and soul. Our physical body is our instrument or our vessel, if you will. And so it's important to live in this inquiry or be in a constant contemplation about, if I am not separate from divine love, if I am an extension of divine love, then what does that mean? What thoughts would I think? What feelings would I have? What choices would I make? What actions would I choose to have throughout my day? And when we start living from that awareness, it becomes really clear what thoughts and feelings and actions and words that we would speak aren't aligned with love. It's like there's a friction in us that shows up, because love becomes our guidepost, if you will, our barometer. And so that which we may have habits formed around in terms of choices that aren't aligned with love begin to show themselves to us. For what reason? There's only one reason that that energy comes up, and it's to return it to love, so that there can be a return to love is the prime directive of the universe. That's the first code of principles. But so that there can be a union with the energy, right? So that then the dance is easier between yin and yang and light and love and masculine and feminine, the polarities that we live in. But they aren't dualities that are tugging at us like a tug of war. They're serving our dance in the physical, if you will. I know this stuff can be sometimes kind of heady. What I try to do is offer the principles and then offer inquiries and things to contemplate, so that then you can go away and let your higher self, your heart and soul, your higher presence help you understand. Because that's how I've done it. And I keep doing it. I'm not done, right? But for decades, every time I thought, what does it mean? What does it feel like, to be in a connection with my higher presence, to teach me. I always put my hands to my heart and I would just say, show me the way. And I always get the next step. I don't always get the whole journey visually laid out in front of me. That's what my mind wants, but I don't always get that. In fact, I usually don't, but I do get the next step. And that next step is perfect from where I stand right now. And it will be for you too, if you engage with this, right? So the lower human ego mind has a really hard time understanding that it's an extension of divine love. It does not feel that way, because the lower human mind is actually, it fancies itself separate from that. And I say it that way because it isn't really. This is where the illusion comes in. When we talk about, separation, which is the first wound of a human being, separation from our source of life, separation of the feeling of separation from the wholeness that is this universe, the fabric of love that is this universe, and we don't always feel that way. It doesn't mean it isn't true. It just means that the narrow focus of the human mind has yet to allow our heart and our higher mind to teach our lower mind what really is true about our connection and our union, our communion with divine love. Which is why bringing each of our, so if this is our lower human mind, and this is the the divine love that we are, because we're an extension of divine love, and we can't be anything but that. Just know that we cannot be you can't be, I can't, none of us can be anything but an extension of divine love. Now, our choice to turn away from that is, creates the havoc that we're seeing on the planet today. And this is an important conversation, because if we want to really choose peace, and if we want to choose harmony, and if we want to choose, love over hate, and if we want to choose unity over division, and all the things that are like really coming up and are in our face today, if we want to choose wholeness over dis-ease and all of that, then this work is utterly vital. You cannot leave this piece of work out of the equation and expect, none of us can, and expect to have the wholeness, peace, harmony, and loving exchange with our neighbors. We won't get that unless we do this work, right? So what is the work that I'm talking about? It's like, if this is who we truly are, an extension of divine love, and this is our lower human, mind, ego-based mind, then every thought that is error-filled, that isn't true, every false belief, every program that we've ever been exposed to, and there's been a lot, right? Like, we drop into this matrix, and it's a maze of confusion, if you will, unless we say from our heart, unless we say, divine love, show me the way. Show me the way, that guides me out of this maze, out of the brambles of tension and entangled energy, and into the light of truth, right? This is what all human beings look for. It's what every philosophy is about. It's what every spiritual and religious path is about. It leads to this connection, right? And that's the simple way of saying it. And anything else that doesn't lead to this isn't really a good path, right? So what we say, we just be we be witnesses, we be observers, we be present, so we can notice, is this true? I'm having this thought, I'm having this feeling, is this true? And we walk it closer to the divine love that we're cultivating in ourselves, that we're reminding our own mind that is the truth of our nature, right? And that the entire fabric of the universe is love, and that our prime directive is to return all energy to love. So, show me the way with this patterning of thought I have, or show me the way with this pain or disease I have in my body, and bring it closer to the divine love that you're cultivating here day in and day out. And let that higher presence, that is love, that is constantly flowing into you, that's what sustains your life. That is the life force that's beating your heart and pumping your blood right now. You cannot say it isn't in you, because it is. If you are alive and breathing right now, as we're connecting, then you have it in you, and you just keep bringing it back. And these questions, these thoughts, these worrisome things that we get ourselves all spun up in, these anxiety-provoking fears and all of that, we just keep bringing it back and bringing it back and bringing it back. And I will say, it does take work, but it's so worth it, because living in this forevermore without without the benefit of your divinity is really difficult, and it doesn't end well, usually, right? So bringing ourselves back to this centered place of I guess a union is the best word, right? This is our humanity and our divinity, and we bring it to a centered place, a sacred center of, they call it the zero still point. And this is the whole point of meditation. If you do meditation or are considering doing meditation, it's to bring yourself to this place so that you know that it exists within you, as it does in every human being. And then you get to cultivate it and curate it and expand it and grow yourself into it as more of that truth of who you are. So yeah, I guess that's a good place to leave it. One other consideration for you is that so each of us are extensions of this divine love in a unified pool of consciousness, if you will, that we call the universe. So think about it this way, if this works for you, is that a drop in the ocean does not fight against the fact that it's part of the entire ocean, right? It just is. So when we when we kind of like relax into that and allow our higher self to teach us what that means and what we should think about that and what it feels like and what choices we would make as a result of that, it actually activates the healing to wholeness that every human being is really looking for. So on that happy note, um, like this page, share this information with those you care about, and we'll see you next week for the third principle. Have a lovely week.